All right, I'm going to go over a couple of the problems that you missed on your test just to help you out. Like this problem right here, there's two of these questions. You missed them both. I looked at your work. First of all, your work was really detailed. I really liked it, especially on this problem. Now, I personally would not have done it the way you did it. There's nothing wrong with what you did. You basically added these two fractions together, and then you cross multiplied, and then you did completing the square. Nothing's wrong with that. Again, you would still get the right answer. The mistake that you made on this step, again, the process is correct, except, where did you get that number at? That is something you didn't show, so I don't know where you got that number. The idea to do completing the square is you are supposed to, find some number that you add to both sides, but you're supposed to do b divided by 2 squared. And I actually suggest to my students residentially, I suggest you show that because 5/3, if you take b as negative 5/3, and I'm at home with a mouse, so it's a little sloppy. So 5/3 divided by 2 is negative 5/6. And then when you square that, you're going to get 25/36. So 25 over 36 is what you should be adding to both sides. And the reason why this is good to show is because once you factor it, this right here, here's what you add to both sides, but the step before that is x minus 5/6. That's the factor of it. And then you solve it after that. But that's how you got that number. That's how you should get the number. Now let me show you a way that, again, it's a difference of opinion. I personally, I could do it in half the steps that you did. So I'm not saying my way is better, but in my opinion, I would never have done it your way, just because, and I've done it that way before. It's just, I don't think it's the best method. So what you want to do is to get rid of the fractions, because, the fractions are the cause of that headache problem right there. So let's get rid of them. And we can get rid of them in one step. Now, you got rid of them by cross multiplying. Well, that's fine, but I'm going to get rid of them on the first step. I'm going to multiply everything by the common denominator. So the common denominator is 5, and then x minus 2, x plus 2. So that's the combination. That's the common denominator between it. Now you're going to multiply that by everything. What you do to one side, you do to everything. So when you multiply it, let's use the distributor. So when you multiply this by this first fraction, the x minus 2's cross out, and then you have 1 times 5, and then x plus 2. But notice the fraction is gone. The denominator crossed out. And then here, when you distribute all of this by the second fraction, the x plus 2's cross out, and then you have 1 times 5 times x minus 2. Notice the fraction is gone. And then on the right side of the equation, when you multiply this by the right side, the 5's cross out, and you still have 6 times both of those fractions. Now, the rest I'm not going to solve for you because I saw your math skills. I mean, they look pretty solid, and which is good. So you should know how to solve it. But notice in one step, I got rid of all the fractions. And then I would hardly ever use completing the square. You're more than welcome to. You just have to remember all those steps. But I would get it down and try to factor it. Almost always it factors, or you can do the quad. But again, if you feel comfortable using completing the square, then use completing the square. But the reason why I don't like completing the square is notice you had to show an extra step dividing by a certain number, because to use completing the square, you got to have a 1 out here. And then that's an extra step you have to do. And then you have to work with fractions. And so, I mean, it's just a lot of extra work. I would avoid completing the square. I know we teach it and there's a reason for it, but if you can factor. If you can do the quad, do the quad. I'm just recommending that you stay clear of completing the square just because unless you like it. I've had a few students that really like that method and you feel comfortable with it, go for it. It's not a problem whatsoever. All right. On this problem, you missed this problem, missed both of these, and I couldn't see where you got your exponents at. So where this is your answer, and I'm not sure where you got those at. So here you have use the. I'm not going to do both of these. Just I'll do one of them. Let me do the bottom one because it has a negative exponent in it. So so if I had, everything here is going to be r cubed s to the 9th. And some students say my s's look like 5s, so just bear with me. That's an s. And then everything here is multiplied by 2, so that's -8. And s to the 6th. So you have an exponent raised to an exponent, you multiply the exponent. So that's what I did. I multiplied the exponents. Now, this guy has a negative exponent, which means we're going to flip him to the top. So that means I have r to the 11th up top. And then here I have 9 s's and 6 s's. That means I have 3 more of them up top. So r to the 11th, s to the 3rd. That's your answer for letter B. And you do something similar to this one over here. So I wanted to do this one just because it has a negative exponent. All right, and this one, you missed 2 of these. There was 2 of these questions on there. And this is your answer from 0 to infinity. Well, the way you're supposed to, well, there's actually 2 ways you can do this, but one way you can do it is, set all of those equal to 0. So x equals 0. Just pretend like it was an equation. So x equals 0, x equals 1, and x equals -4. Now, on the number line, here's 0, here's -4, and here's 1. Now, notice all of the intervals. So we have an interval here to here. We have an interval from there to there. We have an interval from here to there. And then we have an interval from here to here. Now, you need to check all of those intervals to see if they work. So pick a random number over here, like -5. If I put -5 right there, that's negative, and put -5 right there, that's going to be a negative, and put -5 right there, and then that's a negative. Negative times negative times negative is a negative. It's not greater than or equal to 0. This section does not work. Try some number over here. So try -1, -1, negative, and that's going to be a positive. So this section over here does work. And then you could do the same thing with this section and this section and see which sections actually work. That it's going to just pick some random number in here, like 1/2. Pick a random number in the green section, like 2, and then see if it actually works. You'll see that this section does not work and this section does work. And notice it's strictly greater than, so these are parentheses. So from -4 to 0, that's one of them, -4 to 0. And this section does work from 1 to infinity. Now that's one way to do it. The other way you can do it, by the way, just quickly, if you actually graph this, like actually, now I'm not sure how fast you are with graphing, but you know it's a cubic function. Like that's x, 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 it's a cubic function, and it's positive, so you know it goes like this. And again, at -4, 1, or 0, and 1. So you know it's going to look like this. So again, without a calculator, I know that if you know what cubic functions look like, it's going to look like that. And where is it greater than 0? Well, you can see it's greater than 0 there, and it's greater than 0 there. So, you could do it either way, it's fine. But you had 2 of those problems, and you missed them both because of that. So again, whether this concept or that concept, I teach both ways. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. I hope that helps you. And by the way, these problems, I'm glad you're asking, because these problems will, this same concept will appear later, not just on the final exam, but in other lessons.